so that you can see all these wonderful demos. And this morning we're thrilled to have Iowa Beef with us. And I will turn this over to Aaron from Iowa Beef, who will tell us what's happening.
Thanks, Lois. Good morning, everyone. Are we hungry? Yeah. Can you smell it? It smells fabulous in here. So today's theme is beef breakdown, enjoying value cuts and saving big. So I have two Iowa State Extension meat specialists with me, Dr. Terry Houser and Jake Manternach. So over these next 60 minutes or so, we're going to do a step-by-step breakdown of the top sirloin butt, which Jake, if you will show them on the carcass, right behind you, just where that's located, you can pull it off. And the chuck roll. Look at that, he's like Vanna White, he didn't even know. Woo, all right, so we're going to focus on those two areas. And we're going to talk about the sirloin cap and how the Denver steak are derived from those primals. And hope you'll understand the difference in tenderness, marbling, and maybe some different preparation methods. And at the end of today, we hope you're empowered to shop smarter, cook confidently, and enjoy more beef for your buck. So let's meet your presenters. See what I did there? Oh, okay, Dr. Terry Houser. He's the State Extension Meat Specialist at Iowa State University and a nationally recognized leader in meat science education. With decades of experience in carcass evaluation, meat processing, and food safety, Dr. Houser helps bridge the gap between research and real-world application for processors, producers, and consumers alike. Jacob, or Jake Manternach, is a meat industry extension specialist at Iowa State University, where he works directly with small meat processors across Iowa to support education, food safety, and innovation. With a bachelor's degree in food science and a master's degree in meat science, Jacob's hands-on demonstrations and approachable teaching style make even the most technical topics easy to digest. Thank you, ChatGPT. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Houser and Jake.
See this thing. There we go. Well, thank you, Aaron. That was a great introduction. That might be the best introduction I've ever got. By a lot. Yeah, by a lot. So just to be clear, I focus a little more on real world, and a little less on research, probably we can say. But it's our pleasure to be with you here today. We do a lot of cutting up at the Meat Lab at Iowa State. If you haven't been up there, come up and see us sometime. We have a fully functioning USDA meat processing facility on campus. We use that to do a lot of teaching and extension type activities where we show our students, what a beef carcass looks like, how to cut them up, all that good stuff. So, show of hands, who's been up to see us at Ames at the Meat Lab? Yeah, several in here. Yes, absolutely. Well, like I said, if you haven't been up there, please come up and see us. So today, what we're going to do, a little bit of overview. First of all, the most important thing that we can't mess up today is the meat in these ovens right now. We do not want to overcook those, okay? So kind of keep us, Jake, we're going to work together with Aaron, and you'll see us kind of going back with the thermometer checking those, because what we're doing is we're actually cooking two of the cuts that we have up here for you. Aaron mentioned that we're talking about value in the beef carcass right now. Really, really important. Many of you know that we're at a multi-year low in cattle numbers. We have the lowest cattle inventory since 1951. Wow. And so beef is expensive, right? Everybody knows that. Ground beef is expensive, steaks are expensive. So we're going to try to show you some of those cuts that you can get a little more value out of. Two of the ones on my side that we're going to talk about are the tri-tip and then the picanha or coulant or sirloin cap. It's known by a lot of different names. So we'll start with that tri-tip. Who's had tri-tip in here? Okay? Yeah? What do you think of it? Those of us from the West Coast-ish area don't count in this conversation. If you're from California or Washington or Oregon or that part of the world, they claim the origins of this particular cut. So this tri-tip, Jake, can you show them where the bottom sirloin is on our little map there of the beef carcass? Yeah, this little beauty here is called a tri-tip. It's found on the bottom sirloin. We don't really talk about the bottom sirloin a lot. We usually talk about the top sirloin, right, in our vernacular. But that tri-tip comes off the bottom sirloin. It's right now, you can come and go into a Fairway. We're going to use Fairway a lot for an example because Fairway carries this stuff, whereas maybe some of our other chains don't necessarily have them on hand that much. You can go in most Fairways, and depending on the weight, you can buy this tri-tip roast from $7 a pound to $10 a pound. That's where they've been lately, okay, because we buy them frequently. So that, when we talk about value, I want you guys to think about this particular product. We probably got about 2 1/4 pounds here. You know, we're putting this on the plate for this whole piece, probably for about 16 bucks. Okay, we can grill that. In comparison, one ribeye steak right now will be north of $16. You're probably looking at more like $20 a piece, right? And so if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to have some friends over, we're going to cut, we need something to feed a few people, but not hit your wallet too hard. This tri-tip can work pretty well for that. In fact, the next cut we're talking about is the 𝐂𝐤 sirloin cap. Picanha, you will see it in the Fairway store as. This one we're going to get off of this top sirloin, but I'm going to show you how to do that. It really fits the same kind of cooking method, and you can do a few things with it, but this cut is extremely popular in Brazil, South America. This is a very premium cut. We really haven't seen it catch on nationwide yet, but I would suspect, Jake, you know, we will see that very, very soon. As people look for more value in that carcass, we're going to see these go up. And in fact, Jake, what do we pay for these? Picanhas.
I believe $10.99 is what we paid.
I thought those were trailers. I think they were a little closer to $14.99. But if you can get them for $10.99, folks, do so. Maybe Jake worked a deal that I didn't know about. Hey, yeah. All right, so how do you get them? What I'm holding right now is what we call a top sirloin butt. Okay, we're going to leave these over there because we're going to do a little more prep for this. Top sirloin butt. If you go, you'll hear the industry, they'll call them a top butt. And this is where we're going to get our sirloin steaks. One of the issues with this particular cut is it's made of 2 major muscles. This one right down here is called the biceps femoris. It kind of runs like on the outside of your leg. The other one is called the gluteus medius, which is where we get our center cut sirloins. So the interesting thing about that is, can you guys see good here? Yeah. Part of the sirloin muscles run this way. Part of the gluteus medius. The grain of the muscle for the biceps runs this way. Okay? Does anybody know how we usually should cut meat to maximize tenderness?
Across the grain.
Thank you. Yeah. So this cut meat across the grain, right against the grain, and that improves tenderness. So inherently, the top butt, you really can't cut that unless you separate it out. So many years we didn't separate these 2 pieces out, partly because cattle were much smaller. Right? How big are cattle now? Really big, right? It's not uncommon, 1,600 pound steers to be slaughtered. So we have a couple things going for us. We have bigger cuts, so that lets us take some of these smaller pieces apart. Okay, so I'm going to fabricate this top butt. You can do it at home fairly easily. You can buy it in a cryovac bag from your local grocery store. First thing that you do is there's a little muscle on top that it can work really good for some stew meat or something like that, but it really doesn't perform very well on the grill. So this is called the mouse muscle. We're going to take that off the top here, and it's triangular in shape. It's not hard to recognize if you make a couple of these. But we'll go ahead and pull that out. Okay. And like I said, we're not going to waste that. We're going to cut it up, maybe make some stew meat out, something like that. The next thing I'm going to do is simply, there's a seam right in between these 2 muscles, between the biceps femoris and the gluteus medius. So I'm going to cut right through that. And it's a major muscle seam. So as you can see there, guys, it is pretty easy to find. Okay. So this cut, and if you're in a town that doesn't have a Fairway or a Hy-Vee that can cut these for you, you can jump back there behind the counter and show them how it's done, right? Everybody loves when you do that, right? Organic or somebody like that. All right. So we'll go ahead and cut that off. I'm going to trim this just a little bit, and you're going to notice there is a silver skin layer. Some of our deer hunters in here probably know that silver skin layer that lays over the loin. That's kind of a similar type of deal here. So we'll just trim it up a little bit. These got some fat on them, and I would encourage you, you're going to try some of these here in a minute. I'd encourage you to leave that fat cap intact. Because what we're going to do with them is we're going to roast them whole. Okay, that's actually the typical way that you're going to find that in a Brazilian steakhouse or in the country of Brazil when they make picanha. So we'll go ahead and we're just going to pull that off, this silver skin, off of here, because it's going to be a little on the chewy side. One nice thing about it too, if you're a deer hunter and you generate a little bit of fat off of when you're doing a little meat cutting, you certainly can mix that with deer meat. It does pretty good. Okay, so now we got this is our picanha. Looks pretty similar to one over here, right? We're going to do a little bit of seasoning with that one. Okay. Let's talk about what else we get. If it's like a QVC commercial, right? What else do we get? Lots of good stuff. Okay, so this is kind of that heart of that sirloin. Okay, when we talk about, when we go to Applebee's or somewhere else and we say, hey, I want to get a sirloin steak, this is where we're getting those out. Okay? Now there's two main areas to this thing. One of these, there's a seam, and maybe you guys can see it a little bit. I'm going to try to kind of show you here with my finger, maybe just trim a little off. There's a seam right here. Yeah. Has anyone heard of a sirloin fillet? Sirloin fillet? This is the sirloin fillet side. Okay? Very nice piece of meat. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and separate those two, just like this. Now you could spend some time doing that, but I'm just going to do it real quick. And then I'm going to pull a little fat off that we have over here. Okay? Now, when you look at wholesale prices for a top butt, this thing I'm cutting around on, they're less than half the price of a ribeye. Okay? So your retailers, they can get into one of these a fair bit cheaper than they can a ribeye. All right. I'm going to go ahead and cut some filet medallions. I like mine cut about 1.5 inches or so, because once you kind of open them up, they kind of shrink down a little bit. You're going to see these. You're going to see these in Fairway and Hy-Vee, both carry them. Shown here. Many times they're bacon wrapped. I've even seen these bacon wrapped sirloin fillets for $3.50 a piece or so. A lot of times they're bacon wrapped, and they're going to be pretty good cut of meat there for you. Pretty tender. And one thing that they tell you whenever you cook a sirloin, well, let me ask the crowd. When you cook a sirloin, what do they tell you at a restaurant about how much you should cook it? Somebody said medium, I heard. Yeah, medium rare-ish. A lot of restaurants will say, hey, we don't guarantee tenderness on a well-done sirloin. And I would agree with that. I think one of the things we do so many times with beef is overcook it. And so if you've ever heard of a baseball cut, this next cut that I'm making out of the other part. So you have the sirloin fillet side, and then we have our baseball cut. I'm going to cut these again fairly. Okay. Now one of the things I really like about the sirloin is you can portion cut. So here out of my top butt again, I got sirloin fillets, I got some baseball cut sirloins, and I got my picanha, and I got some trim we can make stew meat out. Okay? I'm going to put them up. I'm going to let Jake get to his side.
Do you want to lay any of these out?
I will. Yep. I'm going to lay them out in case after we're done, you want to come down and look at them and see what they are. We certainly do that. Okay.
Jake, before you break in on that side, I just want to ask one trivia question. So when it comes to beef, we talk about portion serving sizes. Usually we aim for about 3 ounces, 3.5 ounces. Sometimes we'll say the palm size of your hand. It could also maybe be, is it a deck of cards, an iPhone, or a hockey puck?
Deck of cards.
No one's going with the iPhone? You know, I was going to say all of the above. It was a trick question. I was just trying to relate to millennials and Gen Z and, everyone else here. But yes, deck of cards and hockey puck typically are what we go with. That's providing 25 grams of protein, and it's also providing 9 other essential nutrients. Can someone name one of those nutrients for me?
Iron.
Zinc. I heard you first, sir. Olivia, would you? I don't know how long my cord will go. Thanks. To the gentleman in the hat there. Zinc is going to help with our immune system, especially as we go into cold and flu. And can I get one more? Iron. So right here. And what's neat about beef is it contains an iron called heme iron, which you actually absorb up to 6 times better than, say, iron that's in a fortified cereal. Or the iron that's in spinach or our plant foods. So with beef, you really get that nutrient absorption, a little added bang for your buck, if you will.
Okay, so Terry just finished up talking about our sirloin, and we're going to move to the front end of the animal. So this is on our forequarter, but this particular primal that we're going to be looking at comes from our chuck. So we're going to be looking at the chuck roll, and actually it's pretty neat because there's 2 different portions of this that we're going to separate out. Okay, first we're going to get to our chuck eye roll, and then down underneath that there's a really, really awesome cut that not a lot of people know about, and that comes from our chuck underblade. Anybody ever heard of a steak called a Denver steak? Or Denver's cut roast? That's what we're going to get at. And actually that muscle is called the serratus ventralis, and it spans quite a ways on this beef animal. One thing about it though, maybe you can just tell by looking at it, but a lot of times it's pretty generously marbled. Okay, so when we talk about the price of ribeyes or maybe strip loins, where you're looking for a good high quality eating experience, maybe this would be another viable option at a little bit lower cost. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is clean it up a little bit. So I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but this area right here is a little bit of bone felt. That's where those ribs laid over that chuck. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do is clean up those areas there. One thing I want to do is just be very careful. I want to try to maximize my yield as much as I can, but I want to get it out of there so nobody is chewing forever on their steaks. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is separate that piece. Okay. So in this chuck roll, you'll notice that this part actually runs right up against one of our most valuable cuts. Okay. That's right up against the ribeyes, that rib primal there. Okay. So this particular part right here is where we're going to get our chuck eye steaks. And that's what I'm going to work to separate out for you first. Okay?
Yes? Yes, I did, but I'm not interested in trading in my car yet.
Okay, you notice that there's a little bit of a muscle seam here, and I'm just going to pull and separate those muscles where they naturally want to come apart. We're almost there, I promise. Okay, so we're going to be left with a piece that looks like this. Now I have them separated, and I have the chuck eye roll, and then the beef chuck underblade. Okay, so we're going to start with our chuck eye roll, and there's some really pretty awesome versatility that we can get out of this. And the other thing, just notice we lop off a chunk of trim, okay? Any bit of meat that comes off of here can be going into our ground chuck, which we know is pretty expensive as well these days, okay? So we're going to make a pile that would be our ground beef, and then a pile of our retail cuts, okay? So on this front end here, that's where we're going to get our chuck eye steaks. I'm going to cut about 2 of them, maybe about out at 1 inch. Just going to give it a quick little face. Alright, so 1 and 2. So what you'll notice is that same muscle that's in that ribeye is still here. It's right here, it's just a little bit smaller. Okay, there's more of those secondary muscles like our cap or spinalis dorsi, and some other fancy ones in there as well. But it's going to be really, really similar to a ribeye. A lot of times you find them at a lower price. Okay, so those are our chuck eyes. The next thing we could do is we could either have this as a roast. This particular roast you sometimes see as an American beef roast. Okay? But before that, another really awesome cut is our beef boneless country style ribs. Okay? So I'm going to make a cut just about the same width as those chuck eye steaks, but I'm going to turn them on the side and cut them right down the middle and present them like this. Okay, so those are our beef country style ribs, great in a crock pot, really, really versatile. Okay, let's see if we can get about 6 of those and leave a nice portion for a roast at the end. All right, so those are those. Now we could either have one big roast, or maybe I could split this right in the middle, be a nice size for a family dinner, right? Okay. So some nice chuck roast there, and that's what we have out of our beef chuck eye roast. Okay. Now we'll move on to the bottom portion of that chuck roll. Okay, this is our beef chuck underblade. Now there's some really awesome and interesting things in here. It's something you don't normally see quite often due to Terry in the retail market. But we both really, really love them. Okay, and you're going to see why. All right, the first little muscle I'm going to pull off here is right here. And it's actually called the Sierra steak. And you're going to notice that it has a lot of similarities to another beef cut that we find on the beef carcass. And that it looks an awful lot like our beef flank steak. It can be used a lot of similar ways. You either marinate it, grill it, and then slice it really thin after you got it finished up. Now this is another piece that's going to have a little bit of that silver skin that Terry was alluding to earlier. So I'll go through and clean that up as well. And you'll be able to really see the striation, which you a lot of times see in those flank muscles. So I'm just going to come underneath it here, clean it up.
As Jake cleans that up, I have another trivia question. What is the name of the infamous beef stand at the Iowa State Fair with hot beef sundaes? In the yellow hat, what is it?
Cattleman's Quarters.
Cattleman's Beef Quarters, yes. Oh, my Olivia, where'd she go? Well, you won a free hot beef sundae that you can enjoy.
No way.
If you're not full after this.
Alright, so you can see that those muscle fibers are a little bit longer, or maybe a little bit thicker than what we've seen before. Does really, really well with marination. If you cook this up, slice it really thin, serve it in tacos, something like that, it's a really, really great product. Okay, so that's our Sierra cut steak. We got our pile of ground beef that we're going to have. And then now what's left of our beef chuck underblade. Okay, so there's another little portion here that I'm going to clean up. This is the portion, you can tell that it sits up against the scapula or the shoulder blade of that animal. Okay, and it's not going to close like juice through, so I'm going to take that off as well. All right, can you guys see the marbling start to show itself right there? That's where we start to get excited. We start paying attention so we don't mess it up, right? Okay. We're going to come through here. There's still some silver skin under this. That'll tighten up if you go to leave that on there. If you take that to the grill, it'll be a little hard to chew through. But we're going to take that off. And then there's another muscle right here, okay? That's left on here, and we're going to remove that. This particular muscle is called the rhomboides. That actually, doesn't even know what that might be on a beef animal. It's actually the hump that we see sometimes, okay? That's the muscle that they use to graze every day their whole lives, okay? So it gets a lot of use out of it, and it is extremely tough. Okay, so we're going to take that off there, and we're going to put that in a grinder, okay? That's going to go with our ground chuck. Okay, so I'm going to remove that here. There's a little seam. Okay. Now we're left with this piece here. I'm going to go through. Everybody see underneath this fat portion right here, it gets to be really pretty shiny and bristly. So again, we're going to go through, run our knife along underneath of that, and try to pull that off of there and expose this chuck underweight. Okay?
As Jake is trimming some of the fat off, beef contains over 50% of a certain type of fat. Could someone tell me what this hard, healthy fat is called? It's not saturated fat. What do you think in the yellow? Go a little more, tell me more. I feel like in Spanish you call this a certain word for hands. Any Spanish speaking? Monounsaturated. Congratulations. So there are a bunch of different fats, right? Trans fat is typically in your fried foods. We want to limit that. It's not good for our heart health. And saturated fat is solid fat at room temperature. So think your butter, your lard. But beef has over 50% of monounsaturated, which is the same type of fat in your olive oil and avocados. So a heart-healthy fat.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. So now we got it all cleaned up, and you'll notice that there's little almost fat veins that run through here. And just as Terry was saying, that the muscle direction of the fiber is very important, and it can kind of be different between different portions of the primal that we're looking at. This particular cut actually has muscle fibers that will run this way, and then they start to curve that way. And now it's important that we cut against the grain to maximize the tenderness of that cut. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to separate it right here, where we know they shift, and then we're going to turn this over and start cutting our Denver steaks. Okay? So I'm going to cut them about maybe an inch. Okay? And we're going to turn. Everybody see the marbling there? This is where we ooh and all, right? Okay, and then we'll get another one out of this. Just clean it up. Okay, then this cut over here, we're going to turn it this way. Left-handed, so I'm going to go this way. Everything's backwards of what Terry does, so if you're taking notes, please note that.
Now, for those of you that saw Terry take the steaks out of the oven, is it true or false that you should let your steak rest before cutting it? True. In the very back. True. It is true. You want to explain more, Terry?
Well, one of the things that we see, like these tri-tips, we just pulled those out. We really we're going to get some more cooking to happen for one, right? So one of the things I see, and I want folks to quit doing, is overcooking these products, right? So you'll notice on our temperature gauge over there, we probably pulled that pecan at about 125 to 128. And folks will say, well, but it's not done yet. Well, you're right. Okay, heat is going to continue to transfer through that product. If we take that temperature again in about even 10 minutes, the middle of that will be 135 and 140. Okay, what you absolutely don't want to do is put your thermometer in there and cook it to 160, then pull it out, and then let it rest, and then slice it because it's going to be really dry. So as we increase the heat on beef products or any other meat product, we're really squeezing moisture out of it. We're denaturing some proteins, and they won't hold water as well. We're going to get a dry texture. And on these products, they're what we call whole muscle products. So what we're really trying to do, if we had any harmful bacteria on them, they would be killed on the outside of it. Really, the internal part of muscle is sterile on a healthy animal, which these are healthy animals. Yeah? So you can even feel, and if you cook steaks for a while, you know, hey, you don't need to put a thermometer necessarily. Go feel them with a fork or something. You can feel when they get firm, they're probably getting towards done, right? And these are pretty firm. So these are tri-tips, and I'm going to start cutting them while Jake is going to come over here and cut. I didn't tell Jake this yet. But he's going to come and cut some tri-tip steaks, and he's also going to cut some 𝐂𝐤𝐧𝐭 steaks for me so I can start cutting some of this and we get some samples out to you guys. Will that work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now one thing that these are tri-tips, and we really poured the coals to them in the convection oven. Usually I will set my convection oven at home about 275. Who has a convection oven? Who has a newer oven? Yeah. If we'd step back in time 20 years, nobody would have raised their hand, right? But anymore, most everybody has a convection oven, meaning it has a way of circulating hot, dry air. So if we open up one of those ovens, you'll see a fan in the back. Okay, that fan is going to make sure we get good hot air around. And that's where I think these particular cuts, like the tri-tip and the 𝐂𝐤𝐧𝐭, are pretty valuable for us as consumers. Now, we put those in that oven about 45 minutes ago. This one right here. So, basically done in 45 minutes. What else can you cook in that fast of time, right? It takes a while to cook about everything. So, what I guess my point is, I believe they're a convenience type item, okay? Now, one thing that we're going to notice, and again, you don't need to cook them this hard. They won't shrink up as much if you don't put the power to them. We're trying to get these.
How many of you sat in Iowa State Fair traffic? Or we did too. So
for now,
yeah.
Yes. Good lesson on that, right? Okay, so one thing that Jake's going to show you as well, and I hope you guys can see okay, on a tri-tip, you really got to watch the grain of the muscle, okay? When you cut a tri-tip, there's basically muscle fiber going this way. Can you guys see it still? And then we got muscle fiber going that way. I need to go which way?
Switch cameras.
Okay, switch the camera.
Lois, can you help us switch the camera, please? Maybe I can figure it out.
Yeah, guys.
You got this, Chris.
Sit down here. Push one, please. Who knows? And then we're gonna.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
One.
Hey, Jake, see? So keep Jake around. One of the many reasons. Okay, so now, Jake, we have he's going to show you on a tri-tip steak. Now, can you guys see the muscle fiber going this way?
Yeah.
And then the muscle fiber going that way? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to separate those. You can see it pretty good well on this cut right here. So simply, when you're doing these, we're going to come in here about right there. Look at that. Yeah, nice stuff. We should be selling knives or something. All right. And then, of course, as we discussed earlier, we're going to cut that across the grain, right? And let's get some plates. We're going to try some tri-tip this morning. Unless you're allergic to beef, and then you're in the wrong spot. Yeah, let's try it. Again, don't overcook these. We'd be a lot happier. Not to say you can't cook them well done if you want to. They're going to get some plates. Yeah, it looks really awesome. I mean, again, these actually were cooked a little farther than I usually like. Those in the front, you can't tell that. They were actually cooked at 140. So I'm guessing they're cooked up to about 150. So these are going to be a little more on the medium side of things. One thing I really enjoy about tri-tip is Aaron was talking about that 3-ounce deck of cards or an iPhone or whatever. When I have found, like when you cook steaks for folks, usually everybody gets a steak or a half a steak. On a tri-tip, you can make them. It's kind of like you brisket, except for better in my opinion. You could feed a lot of people because you're really probably portioning that a little bit more toward 3 to, let's just say 3 to 5 ounces, but that's probably 3 ounces right there, guys. So you can cover a lot of plate with not as much product as maybe some of your other products. So again, back to the whole value, you may look at it and say, well, Terry, $7.99 to $10.99 doesn't sound like a value. But it's kind of like ground beef. A pound of ground beef goes a long way. You can put it in a lot of things. So even though it's $6, $7, $8 a pound, you can make a lot with a pound of ground beef. So I think if you look at it, these cuts that way. I keep cutting meat. No one's taking it away. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So the first thing that you guys are going to get is this particular cut here. So that's the Denver steak. So that is going around now. We really need to thank the cattlemen's quarters because they did us a really huge favor and grilled these for us and then brought them over for you guys to try. Okay? Okay, so you'll notice in that particular cut, it's got a really pretty strong beefy flavor when it gets to you. And that comes from the generosity of that marbling that's in that particular muscle. It's got some concentrated type of beef flavor. So I personally, I think out of everything that we've cut for you today, that's my favorite. Okay?
I think we need to make sure that they know that's different. That's not the
Terry's are at 137.
Oh, take them out, take them out, take them out. Take them out! You had one job today. It's my fault, it's not Jake's fault. Thou shalt not overcook the tri-tip and 𝐂𝐤. That's like the 11th commandment at the meat. Okay, we're passing around some tri-tip for you. Hopefully it's decent. Hopefully it's wonderful. Now you can cook these products as well. You can smoke them if you like to do that on 2 1/4, something like that. If you like to cook your brisket, these work pretty good, except for they're way faster. Right? You don't need to cook them like a brisket though to 200 degrees. They don't need that type of heat process. All right, what do we got here? We better put a couple pieces on because we got a lot. I mean, unless somebody's going to say they don't want any beef. Okay. Hey, Mike.
Yeah. This could be a hard time.
Go on, give it a try, guys. I'll keep cutting and you guys keep eating.
You can tell it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. One thing that's really, that I appreciate about tri-tip is it has a really great beef flavor. I mean, it's not washed out. It's not like maybe some cuts we get into. It's got just excellent, and so does the picanha. They're really, I don't know, I think, I look at them as very similar in eating quality. Yeah. This has a tri-tip. Tri-tip, good?
Yeah.
Terrible?
No, it's wonderful.
Okay, is it on my screen? Yeah. Okay. All right, so Terry's going to keep cutting, and then one other thing I'm going to show you.
No.
No? One more?
Camera.
Where did you try it?
One more.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Don't culottes to eat yet.
All right, so as Terry was saying, this we're back to our picanha or sirloin cap or culotte. It's got a lot of different names. The other thing that you'll see out of this particular cut is something that you find in retail. I know Fairway, for example, carries them. But that they are making sirloin strip steaks, correct, Terry?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to make a couple of those. And they're actually butterflying them, so they're making a nice steak. Okay? And they'll come through and trim up whatever to the fat depth that they prefer to sell through their retail. And you'll see something that looks like that. Can everybody see that? The other thing that they'll do is they'll actually butterfly these as well. So we'll go in the middle of this cut here. I think I did that wrong. Yep. Okay, you imagine it being stuck together still. You may see him presented something similar to that as well, and we'll trim up this back cap. Okay. Alright. You don't typically see tri-tips cut into steaks, but you sure can, right, Terry? So, just like Terry said, we know where that muscle fiber runs. Hopefully you guys can see it on the camera there. So these muscle fibers run in this direction, okay? Until they get about here, and then they run about that way, okay? So if I were to cut it just down the way like this, these won't be all with the grain, okay? So what I'm first going to do is maybe separate it right there, okay? Turn that at an angle, hopefully get some nice looking steaks out of this, okay? Square that end up. Oh, this is going to blow your guys' minds. Okay, check out the marbling in that piece. Okay, that's what makes tri-tip so good. Okay, it's got a lot of forgiveness to them. Anybody can cook them, and they can, for the most part, turn out pretty darn good. Okay, so if you're just starting out on something, I would feel comfortable purchasing this product and doing a little bit of experiment. Okay, it's definitely going to be at a little bit lower price point than a ribeye or a rib roll, of course. Okay, and a lot of generous marbling in there. Okay, these won't be more like little medallions that are ground sirloin pile. Okay, something a little similar to this. Okay, be a nice portion for maybe a little meal. Okay, I have to eat a couple of those.
She's getting.
Yep.
Unless you.
What I meant to say was Jake.
See on the right one?
Never.
Yep.
All right. One of the things, guys, when you look, take a look. See where my thermometer is at now on that tri-tip?
149.
149. So it's just to the point of you pull them off, they continue to cut. Okay. And generally, I'm going to cut this one here directly, and then shorten something there. We got way more, so we're not going to run out. Jake, get some hot pads and bring that over. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one so we can continue on our path over here. All right. So again, this one will cut. One second, guys.
Sure, you want this one this side? Where do you want it?
What's up? We'll put the culottes up here. Let me start cutting those. Those are done.
The tenders.
These are probably more, these culottes are probably more than I usually want with inward. How was the Denver steaks? Did we go and get those? Yeah? Yeah. They're, okay, so I know Jake probably told you this. Those are the same muscle that's in a chuck short rib. So if you like that really heavily marbled piece in the short rib, you'll really like the Denver. We're starting to see more people trade that. That's called chuck flap. It's one of the terms we use in the meat industry for it. It's a chuck flap. And I need more tri-tip. We need more tri-tip. I got more tri-tip. Who doesn't need more tri-tip, right? I make a joke about who needs more rain, but that's right now. If any of you are like me, I've got to sign up like companies say, this is how many days we've had an accident-free. I have a sign up that says, this is how many days that I have not had water in my basement. I'm still at day 0. Still at day 0. One of the things, ladies and gentlemen, you hear a lot of talk about the low cow herd numbers that we have. One of the things that we have the lowest cow herd by population since 1951. And we were producing a lot of beef because our cows are big. Okay, and so as we go down the road here the next couple of years, we're gonna have some high beef prices. Many of the part of the country has been in drought, kind of coming out of that. Even Iowa, southern Iowa, and whole state of Iowa, right? So it's a little hard to really gear up if you don't have enough grass for cows. How we doing here? Who still needs tri-tip? Raise your hand, guys. We got tri-tip for days. Ready, Terry? Yeah, go ahead. And then I'm going to start cutting my 𝐂𝐤. I'll sit that side. Okay, cool. All right, keep them going. Yeah. Usually Jake and I try to eat some of these while we're doing this. It's part of one of the benefits we get with our jobs. I already had it because I don't know if Jake had one. I don't think I've had one. I couldn't serve it to you if I didn't try it.
Did you season these?
Yeah, so these were seasoned with a rub, and I've got several up here. And I'm going to show you, if we have a minute here toward the end, when we get them all cut. Basically what I do is take good old olive oil, extra light olive oil works nice, just to get something coated on the outside. And then I take any of the above. Montreal steak's really nice for these type of products because it's got a really heavy kosher salt and pepper. This one right here. It is a Montreal steak season many of you would have in your cabin. That one works pretty good. Anything coarse ground. When we get our good friends from Brazil to come up, they would just tell us, yell at us and say, hey, just put some kosher salt and some pepper on it, and then you just leave it alone. So you certainly can do that with it. Of course, you can get into some finer grinds. If you talk to some of the Portuguese descent folks out of California, etc., they're going to tell you it needs to have garlic, pepper, salt, maybe some onion on it. Okay, and so the one that is pretty handy that way, that you can find pretty well about anywhere, is 𝐂𝐤𝐿. It's called the blend. It works it's pretty uncomplicated. Of course, we always, you can go back and if you like it a little more salty, maybe a little more celery notes in it, you can use the Lowry's. And then Cookies Flavor Enhancer, many of you use that product. It works pretty nice on these. It's not going to have as many sweet notes in it, but still pretty solid. We've got a place in Ames that sells some Cajun style products. Not to say this is what they use because I don't know what they use, but something like a Creole seasoning can work really nice on these too. Just give you a little hint of red pepper in that product. So those are some nice ones there. We'll go ahead and cut this picanha because everybody had tri-tip so far? Okay. We're going to cut this picanha and see how that is, and I'll continue to cut some more of this stuff. Jake's got all that. What time is it? More tri-tip, they said. Well, one of them. Hey, I've only stabbed Jake like once a year, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Yeah. No, I wish he called. No, we got paid, turns out.
Yeah, I
Question for you,
think
Yep.
At what temp do you quit cooking, say you just want for like a medium?
I would pull mediums on 135, 140, no more than 140. And again, the other thing about them, I think what's really cool about these cuts, whenever we use high heat on them, you're going to notice that we have different kind of almost flavor zones. If you like a product that's got a little bit of roasted notes that you get off the bark, along with some more medium rare notes, these products really shine for that. In fact, unless you're cooking a prime rib or a strip, they're really the only products on beef that you can cook this way. You're not going to cook an arm roast like this, right? Or a chuck roast because it'll be too tough. But these can do that kind of thing. So if you really are a fan of both the bark and the interior that's a little more less cooked, a little more medium rare, that's where I think these just got a lot of value. Mr. Mike Anderson's here with us today. He's from the executive director for the Beef Council here in Iowa. And so thank you for being there, Mike, for one. But Mike, it seems like whenever we find one of these cuts that's value, it doesn't stay value very long. Okay? And I think, unfortunately, for this 𝐂𝐤, for us, this thing, and it's just beautiful, right? That's going to be the case with this 𝐂𝐤 because it's already going up in price. I mean, it's already popular in one part, in South America, and this thing just has a pretty miraculous flavor to it. This one was cooked again. The yield on it is pretty good. In fact, if I were to cook for a wedding or something like that now, instead of prime rib, this would be a pretty good option because they hold well, right? You can hold off and serve a couple hours after you cook them, and they won't get away from you, get too dry. Again, these are right out of the oven, so they're going to be a little bit not quite equilibrated as much as normal.
We have about 10 minutes left, and I have a few more prizes to give away. This one is also for a free hot beef sundae today at the Cattlemen's Beef Quarters. So my question is going to be, research shows eating lean beef every day as part of a heart healthy diet can improve your cholesterol levels. However, how many cuts of beef are considered lean? To give you a little background, back in 1989, we had 6 lean cuts. So we've got a couple decades since then. So the number is going to be much higher than 6. Anyone want to take a stab at it?
37.
Back in the sunglasses.
30.
37.
39.
In the blue. 20. Higher. In the green.
25.
Higher. I know, I feel like the price is right a little bit. In the red. 30. Higher.
40.
In the blue.
35.
A little bit higher. We have 36 or 37, I believe. In the burgundy. 38, you won. That is correct. Thank you everyone for guessing. So I have 38 lean cuts of beef nowadays. So again, there's a lot more options available to you than just a sirloin steak or a 93% lean ground beef.
What one is this? Oh, I'll take one too.
All right, we got some 𝐂𝐤s coming around. What other questions do you guys have?
Who developed the flat
Somebody, University of Nebraska claims that. No. Boo. Oh, I think Nebraska. Okay. Full disclosure. But actually, FC Parish and Iowa State years ago, they did some muscle profiling. They found that out. It wasn't until the 90s, though. And again, we're talking. Jake does a lot. He cuts a lot of flat irons there in house, so he does a lot of that flat iron cutting.
Resident expert in flat iron.
Yeah. And one of the issues with the flat iron is the yield on it is not awesome unless you got big cattle. And we're kind of getting to those kind of cattle now. So.
And where does that flat iron come from? What
Yeah, so it actually comes from the chuck as well. So it would be the other side of that scapula. That's actually comes from the chuck shoulder claw, what that would be called.
Those are really good steaks.
Yeah, I like them too. Yeah. Either you like them or you
If you don't have this kitchen gadget in your kitchen, you may want to invest in one. I have a hamburger chopper, which is great for ground beef. So my question for you, we know about 50% of beef consumed in the US is ground beef. So what is the #1 searched recipe on beefiswhatsfordinner.com?
Meatloaf.
Is meatloaf. No matter what time of year. I don't know about you guys. This time of year I don't really want meatloaf just yet, but meatloaf it is.
I got 2 pieces here. You want more?
Okay, so the question is, what do you ask for that 𝐂𝐿𝐴? So some folks will call it picanha, P-I-C-A-N-H-A, picanha. And some will call it a 𝐂𝐿𝐴, some will just simply call it sirloin cap. If you have a bunch of folks that are not familiar with it, you probably could go with sirloin cap. Yeah, you know, that muscle on the cap over top of it, and kind of explain it that way.
For those of you that came in late or didn't notice, just on your way out, you can grab a Confident Cooking with Beef booklet. It does show all the beef primals, so take that home, and it also shows you different cooking methods: direct grilling, indirect grilling, braising, so you can really nail it down at home. There's also, if you liked the tri-tip, there is a sun-dried tomato tri-tip recipe. It's just on a tear pad that you can take home as well. That one is American Heart Association certified. So this is my next question for you. Regarding beef, is it considered a high or low sodium food? What do you think? It is low sodium. It's naturally low in sodium, which is great. Then, you know, Dr. Houser can add as little or as much salt solution and seasoning to the beef. But usually when it comes to a great cut of beef, just a little salt and pepper can also, you know, take you a long way. So, low in sodium.
How's the 𝐂𝐿𝐴, guys?
Not bad.
Good.
Your knife has this morning. I mean, where you use a couple different knives. I mean, kind of your selection. I mean, why you change your
Yeah, so Jake can show you a couple. Jake's going to show you what he has. Usually we're gonna cut meat. We're gonna use a boning knife of some sort. It's either 5 or 6 inch range.
So they use a 5-inch boning knife. Okay, it's got a little bit of texture to it. You can find all kinds of different kinds. That's for like seaming something apart. I got a little bit more control. When I switch over to portioning something or cutting steaks, you want that face to look nice. This gives you a little bit more leverage to cut a steak nicely and uniform. It's also got a little bit of beveling there, so if you cut multiple, you can get it to fall off your knife. The other one that I carry, and maybe more commonly at like a butcher shop where they're actually boning out or working around bones. This is a 6-inch boning knife that has a little bit of flexibility to it. Okay, so if I was boning out a chuck, for example, to get around those ribs, so that's good.
I assume you guys get those through wholesaler, not wholesaler, but those type of things. But for the general consumer, where good places to use.
Oh, they make all kinds of brands. My particular brand is called Victorinox. Yeah, it's pretty common out there. I think they're pretty reliable. Terry uses a different brand.
Frederick Dick is the name of it.
So there's all kinds of ones out there. There's meat processing websites out there, Walton's, open source ones.
Yeah, there's if you Google Victorinox knives or whichever your favorite brand is, one of the reasons I have the knives I have is because they're orange handled. No one else has orange handled knives will work. Generally.
No way, so Jake doesn't sharpen it and mess it up. That's a great question. Yeah, I didn't get that.
Oh yeah, Jake, show them our ergo skills.
Yeah. Okay, so this is pretty common in the industry as well. It's called a steel. Okay, so it doesn't sharpen, but what it does is it hones the blade, so you can stand it back up again. Just a quick sharpen. Okay, or they make other ones too. This particular one is all smooth. Okay, the one Terry, is yours smooth?
Yeah. Well, mine's got a combination. It's got rough in.
Okay, so on one side it's smooth, and then if you rotate it a little bit, it's a little bit rougher. Okay, so if your knife's in a little bit worse shape, you can do it on the rough one first and then stand it back up if you're. That's just a steel. They just make different variations of it. But I think you saw me using this one here. Okay, so we got a red one and a yellow one. These are called 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐞𝐬 steels. Okay, so we use these with our students quite a bit because they're really easy to train somebody how to use them. Okay, so they're just 2 wires that rotate back and forth, and you just run your knife through there, and it's essentially doing the same thing that I would be doing on my steel. Okay, you get the right angle every single time. It's a little bit easier to train a student on that rather than trying to show them and get them comfortable with using steel. Okay.
What is that one? The red one?
It's called an 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐞𝐬 steel. They're made by a company called 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 Okay. Jerry, what are these around?
They're about $70. I know that sounds, it's a lot of sticker shock, but if you go into any big beef plant now, you're going to see on their fab floors those at every station. The main reason is because it takes a while to learn how to run a steel. And so they have a lot of turnover. They don't have that kind of time. When I taught at 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭, I taught a class where we slaughtered and fabricated, and I got real tired of trying to show kids how to steel a knife all semester. So I just took the path of least resistance and went bought these, and it helped tremendously.
Well, that gets the same angle every time.
Yes, it does. Especially because if you're using another type of steel, you're actually rolling the blade one way or the other, and that can work pretty good if you're skinning. But if you're trying to make straight cuts on like steaks or something, it's not as advantageous. So having that straight blade is pretty handy. What about the 𝐂𝐞𝐬? Who still has 𝐂𝐞𝐬? We got plenty up here.
𝐂𝐞𝐬 in the front. Anyone not had the tri-tip steak? And what about the Denver steak? Okay, we will get you taken care of. If you do leave here hungry, I wanted to share at the Beef Cattleman's Quarters today, right behind the giant slide. The special is the ribeye steak sandwich. So that might sound very nice. And I have one more question and trivia prize to give away. Those of you that have been in the ag building, you've probably seen the butter cow. Has anyone seen the beef display right next to it? And if so, could you tell me just what maybe you saw?
It's byproducts.
Yeah, who said that? Yeah, to beef and beyond. So the butter cow and the butter display this year was Toy Story themed. So we wanted to piggyback on that because beef is more than just steaks and burgers. It also provides byproducts. Can anyone name a byproduct that comes to mind? Yeah. Leather, yeah. Like a wallet, yep. Beef tallow has been very popular in the media lately. That's another byproduct. Give me one more.
Insulin.
Jello, yeah, gelatin. So go check it out if you haven't seen it, or if you missed it. We have over 50 byproducts on display, including crayons, sports equipment, Band-Aids, toothpaste, maybe even the shampoo you used to wash your hair last night. So with that, thank you for joining us today, and please help me give a round of applause. We do have plenty of samples left, so if you would like more, we're just going to kind of hang out down here, and please help yourself. Thanks again for coming.